shows you that are people united. Are people united? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I have the other mic. The other mic. Yes. I gave them the other mic. Kelvin, do you have it there? For that. So that's the University of Nairobi Theatre, and they have communicated a powerful message about the human rights violations, but also the power of standing for our rights and what that is for the country. So we are now going to the next part of the program, and we've done a few adjustments, and we will announce what the adjustments are. We are now going to get remarks. We are going into the session where we are going to get remarks. And to start us off this afternoon, we are going to get remarks from our comrade who spoke to us in the morning after coming from Central Police Station, representing the Missing Voices Coalition, the Director of Amnesty, our comrade Irungu Alton. Thank you very much. What I want.
Comrades power! Power! Comrades power! Power! One of the things I like about any meeting that Cyprian organizes is that he somehow makes sure that the recorded version of the two anthems fail. And it allows us to sing the national anthem. Because I think too many times we have got used to these processes like they are rituals. They don't mean things to us. So by singing those words, we fortify ourselves in terms of human rights. Allow me to be very quick in the opening remarks. I stand here not as the Executive Director of Amnesty International or a former inmate of Central Police Station. I stand on behalf of the many organizations that are part of the Missing Voices Coalition. This is a coalition that has been around for 10 years. Organizations like IJM, the Social Justice Working Group, Haki Africa, Defenders Coalition, the Protection International, the PBI, Muhuri, Kenya Human Rights Commission, ICJ, ICJT, the Human Rights Watch, the Committee for Code for Africa, and DIFO-DEV, as well as Amnesty and Heinrich Böll Stiftung. As organizations, we have for close to a decade now been recording and advocating against extrajudicial killings. We have been advocating against enforced disappearances. This is work that we have done much with very little resources, and to say the least, this year has been probably the most challenging. 2024 has been a very difficult year. If you read the Civicus report that was released last week, we have struggled in places like Sudan, the Ukraine, in Gaza, now in Syria, and other places. 62% is the figure increase in the number of civilian casualties since 2022. Imagine, the number of civilian casualties, I did not say military personnel, civilian casualties has gone up by 62% in just 1 year. 72% of the population of the world are now living in societies that are defined as autocratic societies. 118 countries, and unfortunately Kenya, which was a country that was described as obstructed democracy, this year we fell into the other 118 countries that are described as restricted. Back home, we have grappled with essentially a tension that I think has not gone away. The tension between authoritarianism, constitutionalism, and anarchy. We are in a very fragile space in terms of our national safety. 63 deaths and burials, and in some cases no burials at all because we were not able to find the bodies of the missing persons. 73 abductions. The most heinous one was the Kitengela 3, where 3 men were basically held for 32 days, and over 1,700 arbitrary arrests, many of which were overturned either by the prosecutor or by the courts. And I hope the 9 or 10 that happened today will also be overturned. But I have no interest in that. We struggled against floods. We lost Mama Victor. Long live Mama Victor!
Long live!
Long live Mama Victor!
Long live!
Long live all that died during the floods.
Long live!
May we remember them well, and may we also remember that we did very little to protect them against climate chaos. This was the year when we began to look again at violence against women. We marched, 10,000 of us marched in February. The President did not respond. The National Assembly did not even have a hearing on the topic. We called for new laws to deal with femicide. They ignored it. The National Police Service took no action. 10 months later, we are now hearing that 97 women over 90 days have been brutalized, murdered, decapitated, and even worse. And the question we have to ask ourselves is, what will it take before all Kenyans are safe? What will it take for all of us to be dignified and for nobody to fear the violence that can come even from a loved one or in our homes? International Human Rights Day is a moment for celebration also. This is the year when we discovered Mercy Tarus. Long live Mercy Tarus!
Long live!
The young university student who wanted to go study, and corruption robbed her and hundreds of other students of that opportunity. This was the year that we discovered the name Hanifa for many of us. Long live the courage of Hanifa!
Long live!
Hanifa collected money from the public, she accounted for it, and she made sure that as many people could benefit as possible from those medical support that they needed. For many of us, we knew the names Hussein Khalid and the names Boniface Mwangi. But I can assure you there's a whole new generation that discovered those two men. Long live Hussein, long live Boniface.
Long live!
And for those of you here, because as I see you, I know you are like that Professor Julius Kamau. You are serial protesters. So I just want to honor you and just say, long live everybody in this room, long live!
Long live!
Let me just touch on a few other quick issues before I take up too much time. This is the year when we managed to convict the killer of Elizabeth Ekaro, a women human rights defender, within a very short period of time comparative to the cases that we've been hearing. This is the year that we convicted Jackson Odhiambo for the killing of Chiloba, who was killed last year, a gay activist, and he was killed by an intimate spouse, very much in the same way that women are being stalked today by their intimate spouses. A month ago, we celebrated the graduation of 29 death row prisoners with degrees, law degrees, from the University of London. And they come out in the next few weeks, many of them, as lawyers. And you can do better than that. Imagine being in a maximum security prison with everybody telling you, you will die here. Even if if we don't execute people anymore under the death penalty, you will grow old and you will die here. Why bother to do a degree? And these 29 men and women went ahead and finished their degrees. And on, I think it was on Friday last week, Okumu, one of those death row prisoners who's now released, he was actually admitted to the bar and will be practicing in a court of law very soon. Spare a moment for Nelson Amenya. I know some of you are saying Amenya Nani. You have heard of Adani, our only major international airport, in a deal that was so smelly that it could be smelt in New York and in India and other places, that we have no business giving business to companies that do not follow procedures under our laws. Nelson Amani is the person behind the stopping of the Adani deal, nobody else. I'm coming to an end. This is the year, historically, that we managed to prosecute a case under the International Crimes Act for the killing of baby Pendo. 47 crimes against humanity were committed in places like Kondele and other communities within Kisumu. And that case, 2017, has come into our courts several times this year. And I want you all in the new year to watch what happens with that case. Because we're starting to see signs that the Office of the Director of Prosecutions are beginning to go cold on that case. And I'm not saying things publicly that I've not said privately to the office. As even if they're watching me now, I have to say this is the dividing line between a country that respects, that accepts, and that holds officers accountable for abusing their office. If we cannot do this for the case of baby Pendo in 2017, how are we going to get justice for all the people who fell this year? So we have to watch that case, because there's another case that we are hoping we can bring. Let me end by just saying this, that for some of us, those of us in this room, those of us here at the International Human Rights Day and elsewhere, no scream is too silent. No bruise is too invisible. There is no one here that is too busy to ignore the violence and the human rights discrimination that might be happening in this country. So I ask you to remain vigilant like you remained vigilant this year. And I ask you lastly to recall the words of a former anti-slavery campaigner, Frederick Douglass. I'm going to change it slightly, because what he said is that justice only breathes in the presence of an organized public demand for human rights. And that breath is now in this room. Look at each other. If you are doubting that I'm talking to you, look at the person next to you. Tell them you are the breath of air this country needs. You are the courage this country needs. There is nobody else that is necessary but you. Thank you very much, everybody.
You are the courage that this country needs. Thank you very much. My comrade, Irungu Houghton. Amongst our chief guests this afternoon is the UN President Coordinator in Kenya, Dr. Stephen Jackson, who is very loved and liked in many parts of this country because he has spent his time to work with very many communities. How many of you know Dr. Stephen Jackson? I hope Dr. Stephen will look behind. Let's give him a big clap, please. Thank you very much, Dr. Stephen. I'm establishing the protocols. We have amongst us the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, the UN Deputy Regional Representatives in Kenya, Memushka Gorston, who is also in the room. She's right here. Thank you so much, Memushka. We are also honored this afternoon amongst us to have the Commissioner from the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, our beloved Honorable Sarah Wanaya. She's right in the room representing the chair, Rosalie, the Advocate Rosalie Odede. And we have just been addressed by our comrade, our own leader, the Director of Amnesty International, Irungu Houghton, who has just addressed us. Please let's give him another round of applause. When we go to the panel later, I'll be giving you the names of our comrades and our representatives from the duty bearers and also from our community human rights defenders. At this stage, I am now very pleased to invite to address us the UN Deputy Regional Representative in Kenya, Memushka Gorston. Please join me in welcoming her to address us.
Dear colleagues, thank you very much. I'm very pleased to see that this event is so well attended. It is today my duty to, on behalf of the High Commissioner, the UN Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, to wish you a very happy Human Rights Day. We're gathered today because we're celebrating the 76th anniversary of the Universal Declaration for Human Rights. Let us remember that the fight for human rights is a daily struggle, and that it is our common responsibility to stand up for human rights for all. It is now my duty and responsibility and honor to read for you the official statement by the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Mr. Volker Turk. Today, as we mark Human Rights Day, I want to focus on what our rights mean. Human rights are about people. They are about you and your life, your needs and wants and fears, your hopes for the present and the future. A safe home, food and clean water, health care, education, decent work and a livable minimum wage, to live in peace, to be free to express your opinion. These are your human rights. They are about who you are and how we live. They are the legal commitments all states have made to serve their people. They are not abstract ideas or ideology up for debate at an elite club. Human rights are for the single mother with 3 jobs putting her children through school. They are for the child crying for help, buried under the rubble of his home. They are for the poet, imprisoned for a verse that criticized the authorities. For the pensioner with a disability in wartime, trapped in her apartment for months without end. They are for communities living on land poisoned by chemicals. They are for young people who can't afford a home and for workers left behind by globalization. They give a voice and opportunities to the excluded and forgotten. They are for each and every one of you who feels vulnerable, angry, confused, afraid, disenfranchised, and is seeking better. Human rights don't belong to any political party or to any region of the world. They belong to all of us, to every one of you. Today, there are those who are trying to discredit and discard human rights, throwing glitters in our eyes as they redefine and undermine our fundamental freedom. This is the politics of distraction, and I understand why. Human rights are simple, powerful ideas that motivate people to stand up for themselves. So they pose a threat to autocrats, populists, and authoritarians of all kinds. Previous generations fought and even died for human rights. The right to vote, the right to protest, the right to work and to equal pay for women, the right to be seen, heard, and counted. Our forebears took to the streets, to parliament, and to courts to fight against colonialism and apartheid, inequality, slavery, and racism. They built the international human rights system, bringing real improvement to the lives of the people around the world. Our humanity is robust. When faced with the greatest obstacles, people transcend their differences and overcome. Today, at another precarious moment for our world, many of you are doing the same on climate action, on women's rights, and on peace. The full promise of human rights is still to be fulfilled. The evidence is everywhere. So, I urge you to stay the course, mobilize, use your voices and votes. Reach out and connect to build strong social movements that stand up for your rights and those of future generations. Call on your leaders to work for equality, justice, peace, and all your human rights. On Human Rights Day and every day, I stand with you to uphold the human rights of everyone, everywhere. This is the end of the statement by the High Commissioner. We're celebrating Human Rights Day, but Thursday we'll also be celebrating the 60th years of Kenya's independence. Let us be reminded that human rights are intrinsically linked to the history of Kenya. Let us continue to all work together for the full realization of the rights of all Kenyans. Thank you.
Anybody who works in Kenya knows that Kenyans appreciate the people who speak to them better than that. Please, can we do better? I hope that you understood the call. Call on your leaders to work for equality, justice, and peace. Mobilize and take action. I hope you listened to the call very carefully, because if you do not mobilize, and if you don't speak up, and if you don't take action, the reality of human rights will remain distant. And we have been told that equality, justice, and peace are really at the foundation of a human rights country and a human rights regime, and a culture of human rights. So thank you very much, Manushka, for the representation and the great, powerful address as we mark the International Human Rights Day. Before I invite our chief guest, I want to recognize in just a minute of all the high commissions and the embassies that have sent representatives to the marking the event today. We have the Embassy of Algeria, Embassy of the event today. We have the Embassy of Algeria, Embassy of Algeria. Give them a big hand. The Austrian Embassy in Kenya, the Austrian, give them a big hand, please. The Embassy of the Republic of Azerbaijan, please let's give them a big hand. The Embassy of the Democratic Republic of Congo, let's give them a big hand. The Embassy of the Islamic Republic of Iran, let's give them a big hand. The Embassy of the Kingdom of Netherlands, let's give them a big hand. The Embassy of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, let's give them a big hand. The Embassy of the Republic of Yemen, let's give them a big hand. The British High Commission in Nairobi, let's give them a big hand. The Embassy of France in Kenya, let's give them a big hand. Am I repeating the Embassy of Netherlands? Yes, we have already acknowledged them. If there is a High Commission or Embassy that I did not mention, Samson, please let me have the name. We are also represented by 12 institutions, governmental institutions and commissions. With us today, we have the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. Let's salute them, please. The National Cohesion and the Integration Commission, NCIC, let's acknowledge them. the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, let's acknowledge them. DCI, I hope you about that your blood was not strong. Don't worry, when they come close to us, they get to know the feedback, they get to know the feedback. Then we have the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, IPOA. Very good. Then we have the National Gender and Equality Commission. Please, let's appreciate them. Then we have the Commission on Administrative Justice, CAJ. Let's appreciate them. I was told that Mr. John Kamau was here to represent the Inspector General of Police. Did he make it, Mr. John Kamau? He's right here. Let's appreciate the Inspector General of Police. Thank you very much. When they come close, they get the feedback. That's very important. That's what they really told us. Then, finally, we have the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, who are our co-hosts. Commissioner, you are taking the feedback. Don't be intimidated. Don't be intimidated. We are with you. We are with you. May I know from session for the Attorney General's office? Do we know that? They have not come. Thank you very much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Now allow me kindly. I did not summarize Irungu's remarks because they were very clear. It was a call to action. It was an update report, which was very powerful. And that's why I did not go into detail. Now, allow me at this stage to invite our commissioner to speak for the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, and we are going to be represented here and addressed by Commissioner Sarah Bonaya. Commissioner,
protocol that has already been set. And representing my chair, Roslyn Rodebe, who is not able to be with us today, but as well. As the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, fellow Kenyans, it's with utmost honor and pleasure that to be part of this momentous occasion on celebration of Human Rights Day. A yearly event celebrates of the Universal Declaration on Human Rights. The theme of this year's celebration is Our Rights, Our Future, Right Now. It's significant because it denotes the importance of protecting rights not just now, but also into the future. This day is important. This is because the state is the primary duty bearers on promotion and protection of human rights. Over the years, Kenya has made commendable strides in advancing human rights, particularly to the marginalized and vulnerable groups, including people living with disabilities, women, the elderly, the refugees, the indigenous communities, and children, among others. I applaud the solidarity demonstrated during the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence in Kenya, especially the call against unprecedented such infamous femicide cases in the country. Ladies and gentlemen, Kenya boasts a robust constitution. The Bill of Rights under Chapter 4 is arguably one of the most progressive in the world, with a broad range of civil, political rights, economic, socio-economic, cultural rights, and group rights for vulnerable and marginalized groups being expressly affirmed. The Kenya National Commission has played a key role in advocating for enabling laws and policies to operationalize the rights and fundamental freedoms exposed in the Constitution. In particular, progressive laws have been enacted on key human rights and persons detained, access to information, data protection, freedom of media, and freedom of association, among others. The enactment of these laws has a bearing on better promotion and protection of human rights for the local population, and thus brings the Universal Declaration on Human Rights closer home. As the world celebrates the 77 years after the coming into force of the UDHR, we as a Commission take pride in the major strides we have made, both in working as an institution and in working with other partners, such as both state and non-state actors. The focus is moving the country towards a human rights culture and state. The notable achievement in moving the country towards a human rights culture and state include, among others, country-wide sensitization of members of the public on their rights and obligations, enhancing the capacity of public officers both at the national and county levels as human rights-based approach. Training has also been done to the law enforcement officers, human rights defenders, and county officials, among others, on various human rights social issues, including migrant rights of people with disabilities, and prevention of torture, cruel, inhuman, and disregarding degraded treatment. There has been public recognition as key human rights issues on migration and human rights, documentation of human rights violation, and intersex rights, among others. We are not there yet as a country. Only to be glad to safeguard the process enjoyment of human rights in line with the theme of the day, our rights of future right now. We still lag behind in accountability of violations such as extrajudicial killings, which were provided this year. We have newly introduced healthcare system practices, denying any access in healthcare. Vulnerable groups including those with chronic illnesses, the indigenous and the marginalized communities are the hardest hit. With the disruption in access to life-saving treatments such as dialysis, cancer therapies, and maternal care. The KSCR urges the government, healthcare providers, and stakeholders actively and decisively to address challenges highlighted in a way that prioritizes equity, inclusivity, effective efficiency, and to ensure that no one is left behind in the process of healthcare for all. We have seen the confusion and this the implementation of the competence-based curriculum CCC implementation, where the government has lagging in providing adequate resources to establish the stages of operation. Our children are crying for their rights to quality education that can never be postponed as long as the uncertainty still overnight through the January 2026. Finally, the gathering today is not just a commemoration, but a call for each of us to take our noble and utilize our different positions to ensure Kenya is truly human rights compliant state. Our laws and policies must begin to match our talk. And there we say haki kwa wote kila wakati.
We appreciate Commissioner. Thank you very much, Commissioner, and the remarks on behalf of the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. that's our house for the championing and protection of human rights in Kenya. Commissioner, we know the difficulties under which you are operating as a commission. We continue to pray for you, but we also continue to engage with the committees of parliament to ensure that the commission is properly facilitated so that it can be able to deliver on its mandate as required by our constitution. I've been informed that amongst us is also represented amongst us is the Embassy of Italy. Let us applaud them, please. Embassy of Italy. And also the Embassy of Egypt to Kenya. Please let's appreciate the Embassy of Egypt. With that, now it is my distinguished honor to invite to address us our chief guest. This would be the speech to be presented from the United Nations Secretary General, and it will be presented by our UN resident coordinator in Kenya, Dr. Stephen Jackson. Karibu sana, Dr. Jackson.
Friends, it's my honor to read the United Nations Secretary General's statement, or it will be in a few minutes. If you'll forgive me, I want to add a few thoughts of my own before I do. Today, we remind ourselves that human rights are the rock-hard foundation of human dignity, peace, and sustainable development. And yet, as we look around the continent and the globe, everywhere we see human rights under attack. And that's why this year's theme, I think, is our rights, our future, right now. It's a call to action for everyone. Human rights aren't distant ideals, they're urgent demands that need to be met. They need to be realized today if we are to build a just, equitable, and sustainable future. We have to defeat the challenges of oppression, discrimination, inequality. We need to win the ongoing struggle for justice and accountability today, so that our youth and our future generations get to enjoy the Kenya, the Africa, the world we want and need. And so our commitment to human rights is more urgent than ever today. At the same time, we can celebrate some progress made, whether it's in the global advancement of women's rights or the slowly increasing global awareness of climate justice. So one lesson that I know you all know hard won is that change is possible when we act together, as you in this room loudly proved this year in Kenya. Realizing human rights requires collective action from everybody. Governments, as duty bearers, have an ironclad obligation to protect, respect, and fulfill human rights. Civil society, media, and communities are essential partners, amplifying voices, holding institutions accountable, driving change. And each of us, in this room and beyond, is a rights holder, with the responsibility to defend not only our own rights, but to stand up for the rights of others, especially those in the most vulnerable and marginalized populations. And so we owe, and I owe, a debt of gratitude to the countless human rights defenders who continue to stand up for justice, often at great personal risk. Your courage and resilience inspire us all. Friends, the crucial balance between duty bearers and rights holders came under enormous strain this year in Kenya during the historic wave of Gen Z protests. And we cannot permit the regrettable violence and destruction that progressively took hold later in the protests to take away from what was their original animating spirit. That spirit was and remains one of patriotic engagement on the part of hundreds of thousands of young Kenyans thirsting to shape a future of rights and inclusion for themselves and for their country. And on the part of UN Kenya, we continue to call for full accountability, as I call again today, for all those who lost their lives. And forgive me then if I stray a little bit further from my prepared remarks now, because I feel I have to say something about what went down this morning. As previous speakers have noted, we are at the end of, or almost at the end of 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. And that's a period of huge importance to the United Nations and to all of its 193 member states around the world. This morning, as you know, there was a march in Nairobi against femicide, a deadly phenomenon that has appallingly recurred again in Kenya. Earlier in the 16 days, we launched a report that notes that every 10 minutes, so in the time that's taken between Commissioner speaking and me speaking, another woman somewhere around this world has been killed. And very often by an intimate partner. Now, with regard to this morning, forgive me again, I have to insert the standard UN caveat here that I am not yet in possession of the full facts about what happened. But I do know something. I know that my brother and comrade, Irungu Houghton of Amnesty International, was arrested for marching against femicide, and that he bears the scratches on his arms to prove it. And I'm morally certain that everyone in this room, and that all right-minded Kenyans, government included, stand against femicide. There's no argument on this. So I find it particularly difficult on this Human Rights Day to fathom what took place this morning. And I want you to know that I have already raised it with very senior levels of government. No reply as yet. So let us renew our commitment today to protect and promote the rights of everyone, leaving no one behind. Together, we can shape a future where human rights are not just ideals, but the reality for all of us. And with that said, let me now do the honor of reading the Human Rights Day statement by the United Nations Secretary General. And I quote, "On this Human Rights Day, we face a harsh truth. Human rights are under assault. Tens of millions of people are mired in poverty, hunger, poor health, and education systems that have not yet fully recovered from the COVID-19 pandemic. Global inequalities are running rampant, conflicts are intensifying, international law is willfully ignored. Authoritarianism is on the march while civic space is shrinking. Hateful rhetoric is fueling discrimination, division, and outright violence. And women's rights continue to be rolled back in law and practice." This year's theme reminds us that human rights are about building the future, right now. All human rights are indivisible, whether economic, social, civic, cultural, or political. When one right is undermined, all rights are undermined. We must stand up for all rights, always, healing divisions and building peace, tackling the scourges of poverty and hunger, ensuring healthcare and education for all, advancing justice and equality for women, girls, and minorities, standing up for democracy, press freedoms, and workers' rights, promoting the right to a safe, clean, healthy, and sustainable environment, and defending human rights defenders as they carry out their vital work. The recently adopted Pact for the Future reinforced the world's commitment to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. On this important day, let's protect, defend, and uphold all human rights for all people. Asante sana.
And we put our hands together and make a better cause for Thank you very much. Dr. Jackson, if you listen to Irungu when he spoke and he gave an update on the report, and the Secretary General has confirmed the same, it looks like things are getting tougher, it is getting rougher, and it is calling for us to stand up firmer and stronger if we are going to stem the tide. The reversals are evident everywhere you look, including in Kenya of all places. If something like what happened this morning is anything to go by. I was looking for my DJ because I felt like the song Sita Simama Maombi Kufanya Nini? I don't know where Kelvin is, but he'll come. He'll come. Nikonja I don't want to try and attempt to summarize the remarks by Dr. Stephen Jackson, nor summarize the remarks and address by the UN Secretary General, because they were on point and we have listened to what. Let me just say this, that I'm trying to look for Irungu. Is he still around, or he has gone to get some reprieve? Is he around? Dr. Jackson, I want to inform you that what has happened in Nairobi from last year is that police officers are promoted on the basis of how many meetings they break up and on how many people they arrest. When they saw Irungu out on the street, they said, this is our route to promotion. Because there must be an explanation to the behavior that we are seeing. Because the demonstration was not against government. Are you getting what I'm saying? This was not a demonstration against the government of Kenya. The president had already given out 100 million shillings towards femicide. Except that I don't know where the money was coming from. What I'm saying, please don't miss the message. The message is this, that today the demonstration was not against government. So how do you explain the barbarity, the violence, the tear gas, the rubber bullets, the arrests? You must look for an explanation to this, because nobody was under attack. So it is very, very sickening. Now, I want you to be solemn a bit, because we are going to take the next 5 minutes to listen to we have about 11 survivors and victims one of the survivors of the abductions that happened here in June and July. Someone told us in the morning that when a survivor comes to give their testimony, you don't guide him how he's going to do it. We have to be present for him, and then after that we will see how to react. Do you want to listen to Ohio?
Yes.
Joshua, please come.
Somebody is calling me Zakai. My name is Okayo, not Zakai. Lakini, my name is Zakayo, lakini napiga Zakai. I mean, my name is Okayo, napiga Zakai. Sindio? My name is Okayo, napiga Zakai. Thank you, Super MC, and thank you to all the guests who shared with us here. I sat there, I'm so inspired to continue the journey to defend human rights, as I've always done. My name is Joshua Okayo, and I just did my fire exams 2 weeks ago. Yeah, 2 weeks ago. The last paper I did was on Tuesday, like today. So I have been a student at the Kenya School of Law, and also was privileged to be the president of the Student Government Council at the Kenya School of Law. And just before, a month or so before, people talk about June 25th really, but there is so much that led to June 25th. Quite a number of friends reached out and we were trying to share notes on the finance bill really. At that point, our eyes were not so open to the many other factors that would follow. Because now, with the success, the economic success of our fight against finance, we realize that then we can also solve the other issues that we had before. And that's why the journey to fight for a better Kenya has continued to be, and it's going to continue into the future. Viva! On the 18th of June, I was on the streets at 8 a.m. We came to protest against the punitive finance bill. At around 4 p.m., together with some friends, we were arrested and we were taken to Central Police Station. The Law Society of Kenya came for us, we got out, they bailed us out. On 20th of June, we went back to the streets. Quite a number of people turned up. It did not happen as we wanted, because we wanted to get to Parliament to show the MPs that you are not representing us. We have right to not do public participation, so we have to get there and make the laws ourselves. On 25th, we went to the streets. And I remember on that day, we wrote a circular at the Kenya School of Law that no class should be attended, no student should be found in class, because we are going to the streets in solidarity with all Kenyans to ensure that we reject the finance bill and it is defeated in its totality. So almost all the students at Kenya School of Law, and of course the University of Nairobi, I can see some of them here, where I came from before I went to the Kenya School of Law, we all came together to support the fight against that punitive bill. On 26th, I received 3 phone calls. I talked to 2, I never talked to 1. They were speaking the same language. Okayo, wherever you are talking, Nikubaya, you are seen in Parliament and these people are coming for you. The first one I ignored, I was like, Kwani, see, you were there on Tuesday, you were there on Thursday, Kwani, is this the only one? Then the next person calls, speaking the same language. I left. Apparently, these guys were waiting for me. I did move, even a kilometer from where I live. Someone called me to Okayo, come say hi. Let me speak English for the sake of everyone. Come say hi to your friends from the Kenya School of Law. Quite a number of students from that where I live. So I knew that these are comrades. Let me go say hi. Immediately I turned, these guys were already coming at me. They grabbed me into the car. They covered my head using a black sackcloth, and then they pushed me into the car. The car was just coming slowly. They drove off, cuffed my hands. That was it. So to make the long story short, along the way, so many questions which I didn't have answers to, because really, for us, we were generally going to the streets because we understand, some of us had read the bill, and we knew that there were provisions in that bill that were violating our civil and economic rights. I stayed for about 48 hours. I didn't know where I was. I was hit. I even had a mouth fight here, somewhere here. Here. I don't know if I can tell you this story, because every time it reminds me of what I went through for 48 hours. So I have told it so many times, thinking that it will get off my head, but every time I tell, every time I remember what happened, every time I stand to tell my story. I remember the room where I was. I could, you could hear echo, but you could not see anything. I could not move. I did not eat anything. I did not take even water. But the last thing they did was to throw me in a river in Muranga. When I got up, I found about 30 people, 30 villagers in Muranga, just speaking, and everyone speaking their language. That's when I realized I was still alive. So that's what happened. I'm still nursing my left arm. I have done everything to this arm. I went for, ultrasound, I went for MRI, nothing. It's revealing nothing. But it keeps on, swelling and going back. Sometimes it's numb, sometimes it's hurting. But those are the scars we have to live with if we choose this path of fighting for human rights. I was also told to speak as a comrade now. This fight for human rights and fight for better Kenya has not stopped yet. I know the flame has a little bit gone down, it has dimmed a little bit, and people think that there is no longer hope. I can authoritatively tell you that this is just a calm before a storm. Our rights, our future, right now. It did not only affect me as a person. My family did not know where I was for those 2 days. My friends did not know. And for those of us who grew up in the village, when you go missing, they call your friends that you've gone with to the village to confirm. Apparently, those same people did not know where I was. So they were worried. But there is a fear that our voices do not matter. That's why I appreciate the organizers of such events, because we keep the conversation going and we keep reminding our parents who are so fearful because they were intimidated by the past governments. We have to remind them that our voices actually matter and that our rights are not only in the Constitution of Kenya, but even international instruments like the ICC. So let's continue, let's keep the fire burning, let's continue fighting for our rights, and let's continue to be heard, because we must be heard. Our rights, our future, right now. Thank you.
Ufisadi, ubinafsi, ukabila, kukuza
viva!
Viva!
Viva, comrades, viva!
Viva!
So I just have a small announcement to make. You realize we've been attending to survivors today, but we are also taking posts today. So for help, any psychological intervention, Inuka Kenya, IJM, which is part of the Missing Voices Coalition, is here to offer that help. So you can look for us. We are at a tent at the last, on the left. So we are there to help you. Asante.
If you look at the program, we changed the panel, and the reason we changed the panel is because of our 6 panelists. We only had 2 of them coming to be with us today, and one of them is the Director of Programs at the National Gender and Equality Commission, Paul Kuria. Paul is still here, is right there. Paul, please come because I want you to greet us as we leave. As Paul comes, we also have a representative from the Students Association of Nairobi UNSA. The chairman, the president, is represented here today by, who is representing the students' president? Who is representing the students' president? Is right there. I'll be mentioning your name. Paul, please come. As Paul comes, we are also joined here today by the Embassy of Ethiopia in Kenya. Embassy of Ethiopia in Kenya. And if you permit me, Omushka, we will request that you recognize all our UN staff who have been at the core of the organizing for today before we give the vote of thanks and leave. So I'll be calling you to do that, and then we'll go. Paul, just greet us, and then I'll invite Omushka to conclude.
Cyprian and all protocols observed. Well, there's no difference between we're coming from the days of activism, and every day against gender-based violence, and every day the National Gender and Equality Commission is in a space to discuss issues of discrimination and violence against women and girls, as well as boys and men. Thank you so much, Cyprian, for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you very much for that, Paul. I want to recognize Mary Ishuki. She's one of the other, from Aktivista, she's one of the other panelists who was supposed to speak to us today. Please give her a better hand. Thank you very much. And then, and then Ramesh Saxena. Ramesh, please stand so that you are appreciated. The Secretary General, so much, comrade. If you look at your watches, we are at 4 exactly, almost exactly. I was warned very strongly to ensure that we keep time so that we do not offend anybody, because people are very tough schedules, but I think we really tried. Allow me, before the vote of thanks, to welcome our Deputy Regional Representative, Omushka, to come and I can hold your hand, don't worry, so that on behalf of the UN community, you can be able to recognize, everybody can stand, because they have really done a lot of work to us today.
Thank you very much, Teresa. I will not, keep you for a long time. So I just wanted to take the opportunity maybe to acknowledge the presence of my predecessor in this role, Ms. Lee Fong, who has been the face of OHCHR in Kenya for 4 years before me. So just to say thank you for coming to support us tonight. I also want to thank, from the team of OHCHR Kenya, but in particular Vincent. I don't know where he is. He's been working very hard on this, so just to acknowledge that he's been the one that has been coordinating for every time. But really, I think that as the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, we are, yes, Vincent, Teddy, the rest of the team, but really, I think that, as the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, this is really our mandate to be here to help duty bearers and right holders to implement human rights obligations. his ideals and his values. So very happy to be here today, 76 years later, to help celebrate this and what they mean for people in Kenya. Thank you.
So much, Kanushka. Even our brother to come and give us the vote of thanks. I had a long list, as I told you, of survivors who were supposed to share their stories. And just allow me to do a simple thing of mentioning their names. Joseph Waweru spoke to us earlier in the day. Peter Waweru, Achieng Phillips, Joel Bariu Lindera, Jacinta Anyengo. Jacinta, just stand, you are one of wale ambao walikuwa waongee. Msalimie Jacinta kwa hewa. Michael Ouma, Joshua Opayo has spoken to us, and Lavani just stand up. We want to just salute you. One of the other comrades who was also abducted. Now, the list of organizations, social justice centers, social movements, human rights groups present here today is very long, and we've generated the list of attendants out there. I want us to really appreciate all of them, and that will be done by the vote of thanks that is coming from our brother, Samson Omondi, from the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. Samson, please welcome. Please join me in welcoming Samson to do that vote of thanks.
So, good afternoon, colleagues. I think at the Commission we pride ourselves in saying that strength is our day as an institution. And we never shy in making it a success. But this success is only possible because of the several hands that we join to make this happen. I want to thank everybody that has made this a success. I think ever since OHCHR came into Kenya, we've had a yearly event. And OHCHR has been extremely supportive. We hope to continue doing this from time again and again. I think the various embassies that are present, we greatly value your support. Not just in supporting International Human Rights Day, but supporting the entire human rights work in Kenya. It is important and it makes our heads high. We want to thank the entire diplomatic community that were useful in putting this together. And we hope that time and again you not only support events, but support entire programs that are run not just by the Commission, but other human rights agencies. Social justice centers, you guys do an amazing job, and this is never possible without you. It is a day that we share with you. Your courage, your determination, your resilience makes this possible. We have a crop of human rights defenders that are fearless. We have a crop of human rights defenders that are so determined. We celebrate you and we thank you for joining us, or not just on this day, but even in other aspects that we do the work of promotion and protection of human rights. My colleagues at the Commission, led by our Commissioner, I salute you. You made this possible, and I remain greatly indebted to you. Colleagues from Missing Voices Coalition, you've done a good work, planning and talking and discussing and making this happen. Has never been easy, but you've made it possible, and I think today you really are very proud. And everyone that has attended this event, we are all heroes. And your space on promotion and protection of human rights will always be reserved. May we always ensure that we all stand up for what is right, because what we do today will determine what happens in the future when it comes to promotion and protection of human rights. Asanteni sana, and I'm wishing you a good evening. Thank you.
When we rise, we do the first anthem of the national, the first anthem. Okay, you win. Where is Salima? Salima, so that we don't fail again. Laman, are you ready? Please come in front.
Viva Conrad, viva!
Viva!
More power to the people, more power!
More power!
If we lose our fear,
Their power!
if we lose our fear,
They lose their power!
if they kill us,
Comrade Viva. My name is Alaman. For those who came in the afternoon, I was a co-MC. And thank you so much for making this day a success. It's never complete without the Wimbo wa Mapambano. But just before the Wimbo wa Mapambano, because when you have the mic, you have the power. I just want the representative of the AG. I was suspecting he left because they never finished this meeting. Well, I come about his son. All right. And please, after this, do not leave kindly. The gravity band is coming here. Those who know the gravity band, know that you're going to have a good time. So kindly, please don't leave. Gravity band is going to entertain us. Alright, so we all put our left hands on our chest where the heart beats, and we do the Wimbo wa Mapambano. Kupigwa na kupokonywa maisha, hakutatuzuia sisi wananchi kunyakua uhuru na haki ya jasho letu na haki letu. Kupiga magoti mbele ya wauaji, bila shaka sisi pia ni watu. Hali ya utumwa tumeipata, hali ya utumwa tumeipata. Tutanyakua mashamba yetu, tupiganie uhuru wetu, tuikomboe elimu yetu na viwanda wetu, kondoe utamaduni na sisi hatutaki kudhulumiwa, hatutaki tena mauaji, ili tuliangushe haki na uhuru. Zichague haki na uhuru, zichague uhuru wetu wa Kenya, wa Kenya, uhuru wetu wa Kenya, tupiganie na tufanye Wakenya, Wakenya, yeah.